got that. Call it capital, or call it on that one. That's what she's got to be made available. $10 million is not fix facility, it patches it, puts a band-aid on it, and the problems just pop up again. So,
I'm so resistant.
I probably am too.
So these brackets aging up.
That school I started in was probably my age now when I started.
So,
What? 60 years old. That was my one.
are we going to go into any other?
Well, yeah, I wanted to know if we have anything you can add to the student on the board. And you weren't here last time, and I should have told you to tell you that a couple of things that came up were that the state board has advisory on two students, two administrators, two principals, two teachers, something like that. Sarah, in what hadn't done a whole lot of what she has done, seemed that there would have to be some state statute work done
Yes.
in order to be able to elect the
Yes.
person to really to the board, not just a student election. Because right now you have to be 18, you have to be 21, just 21 to be eligible.
Yes.
So that all that there have to be some amendments to that to move forward. And so whether we want to try to do something more quickly that we can get an advisory student.
Well, I had a conversation with Ann. I wasn't sure she was going to be here today.
We thought she was. I thought she was.
So, and I know she has done some work as well, and I gave her an assignment. I don't know if they've had a chance to research it. I think Alamance County has something that they've been doing with the student, so maybe we put that on for the next time. We can have a more robust discussion about the student assignment, student representative. But I actually had a new thing that I wanted to throw out there, if this is the time to do it. So probably, I guess, maybe 2 months ago, I had requested some data, shocking, about suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, and I requested it for pre-K, first grade, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And I was just curious to know the numbers of kids in those lower grades, particularly pre-K to second grade, that were being suspended. And you all received it. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. But where we are is for pre-K suspensions, 2014-15, we had 18 pre-Ks at the time of this report, which was back in March. For kindergartners, we had 222. For first graders, we had 297. And for second graders, we had 526. So for a total of just over 1,000 kids in those grades who had had out-of-school suspensions. And I started thinking about this just because I'm thinking of pre-K, a kindergarten, and a first grader. As adults, there should be some things we can do to intervene in behavior or whatever's happening that's causing them to be suspended and mitigate that. And so I was talking to some folks in other districts, and several have talked about putting forth not necessarily a policy, but a resolution to not do suspensions for whether it's pre-K through first grade or pre-K through second grade. And I guess it really speaks to some of the discussion that happened at the meeting on Tuesday around restorative justice and things like that. But as adults, if we can't do positive behavioral reinforcement with pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, it just seems like we're doing something wrong. Why are we suspending kids at that age? And I know there's a story behind everything, but I would love for us to kind of think about something in that vein, and I'll bring you all more information about what other districts are doing. I'm looking at Seattle in particular as one that's doing a similar type of resolution. But I just wanted to bring it up and kind of get your reaction. I don't know if, like I said, you had a chance to look at the data that was submitted or not, but I want you to at least think about it. It was back in March when I requested it, so it's been a couple of months, but I wanted to kind of look at it, and I talked to Ann about it a little bit as well, so she kind of knows my thought process on this.
Yeah, I just really have issues with suspension extending kids at anyway. To me, that's, all you really have experienced is a temper tantrum. Kids that young, I mean, you think about temper tantrums at 2, but they don't have temper tantrums in first and second grade too. And that's, you know, you just gotta have a better way of dealing with temper tantrum than kicking them out of school.
As you raise kids, you have to say, if you're going to do this, then this is going to happen. And what happens has to be mildly uncomfortable, but I want you to do it. And sending a kid home from school
It's not mildly uncomfortable.
I mean, that may be an advantage. It's
and-
rewarding some of these
But
kids.
Paul, that's what, I'm glad you said that, because it used to be that third grade was about the time the suspensions kick in. But what I hear from schools and is that these children come to kindergarten as worldly wise and tough around the edges as they can be, and they need parent support. And getting it, it's like pulling his teeth. And so, many times, the only way that you can get some of these parents to school is to send the child home, and you get them out. I'm just saying, it's a reality. They are off, they're off the chain, they are doing some things that, I said, my gosh, a fourth grader, it used to be when I taught school, you would see, but they will fight you, they can curse better than you can, Paul. They are disrespectful. They are disrespectful at a heightened level like nothing you've ever seen. They can tell some adults where to go. Schools don't have the people power to get at the rigor. This goes right back to what I was saying, and deal with these children, because it takes a whole person sometimes to handle one of these children for most part of the day. This person is being drained from something educationally more productive. So I see both sides of that, and we must come up with some things, but it's going to require some more resources, some more people power.
Well, and I agree with you, because a lot of what I think is happening at the younger grades, it is that social, emotional, behavioral piece. And I know we've got a little bit in the budget now to bring in more psychologists and counselors and so
It's
forth.
nowhere close to enough.
Exactly, it's not.
And that's what I was so encouraged about, not just the few shirts you saw in the auditorium, but all the shirts that were out in the lobby. Because that's the manpower we need to give one child because they are doing this because they get away with it at home.
They do. And it used to be when we had more emphasis on social workers who, by nature of their training and their inclination, I could say, go to this really rough, tough home, and they were on it. They were a known entity in that neighborhood, and they could to bring that together. Schools don't have that anymore. They, at a time where they need social workers who have the talent, the skill, the training to make those connections, they don't pay. So schools are left with, what do? Do I allow them to tear up the school? And they are capable of doing it, I guarantee. Because I've been
Well, we've got
there.
a long way to go with that, with social workers, psychologists, to be truly school-based and not really covering somewhere nearby. Because if they don't get to know the parents, and don't get to know the neighborhood, and don't get to know the situation, then they're really not being able to use their time to the fullest and help the community if they can. And all of that came about because of the recession. And we decided that was one of the places we would cut funding and take social workers out of school and put them in learning communities, is what we did initially, which which meant they were only on call, they were never part of the school.
Right, and they,
Good work level.
Well, I want to,
Well, how do you, I mean, basically, you've got to change the behavior. That if indeed they are coming to school and duplicating what they get away with at home, and apparently the home situation deems that to be acceptable. How do you change it? How do you get to the point where that child sees something? Because you're not going to change the whole image. So the child comes to school, and it's almost to me like you tell them one thing, this is the way you're supposed to behave, yet it goes back to an environment where misbehaving is what we deem to be misbehaving is okay. And they go back and forth, and they're getting a mixed message. How do you do with that?
Children are pragmatic. They really are. Once they figure out it ain't working here, they will adjust. They just, yeah,
You know.
you've got to make them uncomfortable, but sending them home is not being comfortable.
Yeah.
It's got to be
intense.
something that I wanted that I'm not going to get because I did this.
Yeah.
well, I think about, I mean, if you look at the research and the data of students who get suspended, being A, able to be on grade level, B, drop out in later school career, all of those things, even the whole continuum of the school to prison pipeline. The fact that we're suspending kids in pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade hastens all of what the data is saying. And what's our role in it as a district in terms of what can we do to be more proactive? And I don't have all the answers to how you change the behavior, but the fact that we suspended 18 pre-K students through March of this year is like wow to me. And that's up from 6 the previous year. Kindergartners, 222. Those are a lot of kids. I don't know if these are 1-day suspensions, 5-day suspensions, hopefully they're not 10-day suspensions like that. But to me, that's something that we should be paying attention to. And having more conversation about.
So have you heard of, did you say you know of districts that have had some sort of statement about this?
I do, and I'll bring you all some stuff. Like I said, one that I'm looking at in particular was Seattle Public Schools, and I've asked them to send me kind of some of their policy work around it, and so we can look at it. But it just seems to me that this is something we could impact.
We have over
or
the last couple of years really tried to work at this harder.
I'm sorry.
To work on this suspension stuff, and to try to get fewer suspensions and more opportunities in school for kids. And I think that's been moderately successful, but it's not enough. Flavor and so other doing other shortages.
Montessori has a behavioral modification component to it. And I know they're not dealing with, they may not necessarily be dealing with the extreme behavior that we're talking about. But it seems that that works, the whole, my understanding of special Montessori was early first years is not so much geared towards the educational as it is towards the training the child to learn how to behave in the classroom. And, maybe incorporating, some of that learning that they have experienced and been successful with it, and trying to incorporate some of that in our earlier, more traditional pre-K, particularly pre-KK environments, would go a long way towards at least helping the child understand. You may do that at home, but you can't do it. And this is what happens if you do it, and this is what you miss with what you did.